Hello, I'm Ollie Holman, I'm a metal sculptor, and this video is kind of my little how-to kind of basics, tips to how to get started in MIG welding. So if that sounds interesting, then stay tuned. But here's a little show reel to show you why I'm worthy to speak on this subject. What do you need? Some gloves, a mask, and a MIG welder, and MIG welding gas, and MIG wire, and something to weld. So once you've got that, we need something to weld, so I've got some scrap pieces of metal here just for demonstration purposes. With the MIG welding gas we're using, because it's mild steel, we'll be using a mixture of argon and 5% oxygen mix. But if you want to do stainless, you need to have pure argon, so that's a little tip. Let's quickly run through the MIG welder. This is an Artec MIG welder. I was kindly given this a year ago, and I've never looked back ever since I got this MIG welder. Before I was using a stick. Couldn't do thin stuff and big stuff, and it was just so much easier to have this. It's really just a point and shoot kind of welding, so it's a really good one just starting out wise. Basically, how it works is, you may not know this already, is there's a wire in there. This is your metal, and it comes through out there, all the way out into your torch here, and the metal comes out like that. And then inside that, there'll be some gas as well, coming out that, and that kind of creates a shield around your weld. And if you didn't have the gas in there, basically you wouldn't have a good weld, basically. It just wouldn't really work. Anyway, this is here below is where your earth wire is, and that basically, I couldn't connect it to my bench because it's metal, so I just sometimes put it onto my bench. But if you haven't got that, whatever you're going to weld, put this onto it, and then you just weld onto that. So you're kind of completing the circuit. Apologies if I'm boring you already know all this. Bear with, I'm trying to explain it on. On the front of the machine we have your amps and your MIG wire speed. I'm not very precise in terms of having, it needs to be at this precise number, or this, so I just kind of go by feel really. And my little rule of thumb though is these two needs to be kind of pointing in a similar-ish angle-ish. Usually I know it should be right-ish, it should be in the right ballpark. So if you want to do thin stuff, which we're going to do some thin stuff in a minute, so we're going to turn it down low. Low. Here's a little tip I have for when you're setting up gas. I used to be freaked out a bit by MIG welders. I thought, oh, you need to get gas, and the complications around that. How do you set it up properly? But overthinking it basically. In hindsight, all you really need is just a bit of gas to come out, just to shield your weld. Here's a little tip how I do to set it up wise. I learned from my dad is so wang it on right now. If we quickly do this little nodule here, there you go. That takes the wire off, so that way it can test. This is how I go about testing gas. So now I can just put it near me now, and I should be able, if I can feel like an air or like a gas coming out here, then I know I think it should be right. Yep, and I can hear that. So it should shield that weld nicely. So I can put that back on there. That puts that wire back engaged now. Here we go, it should come out now. There we go. And because I'm a Yorkshireman, I try and not have too much gas, so I put on as little as possible. And also, because I'm Yorkshire, I'm going to cheat and use that extra bit of wire that I just moved there and roll it back a bit. There we go. So no wastage at all. And wang that back on, that little nodule there, and then shut the shop. That's pretty much the MIG welder. So let's just get welding, shall we? As a beginner, starting out wise, I would learn just by doing some lines of weld. And think of it a bit like a pool of metal, and you're kind of like drawing with the metal. And I'd use a bit of thicker stuff to begin with, and that'll be a good way to kind of get practice in setting up your MIG welder. I usually do some, like, before I weld a piece anyway, I sometimes do some tester welds on scrap bits of metal, just to make sure it's working alright, and you can usually tell by the weld after it. Let's do some welds and show you how this works. And that's on, gas is on. So basically, you want to get fairly close so you can see what you're doing. Get the torch as close to the metal as possible, so you get fairly close, because that gas will be a better weld the closer it is. So, go. So that's usually a good weld, is when the more sunk in, it's kind of penetrated through, and that'll give it more of a strong weld. And a good little exercise as well is to get your control in your hand is, write your name. That's how I started out. You can write and try and draw with it a little bit. It's a good exercise. Let's do a little one now just for fun. The E could be better, it's a bit too small. Anyway, that's a good little tip to get your hand control and be smooth with it. Because when I started out, I was all over the place, jittery and not, and you'll start to control that pull of metal. Let's do the more fun bit. So let's join some pieces of metal together. This is probably why you want the MIG welder in the first place. Let's get 2 bits. So let's just add some bits to this, shall we? The better the weld is cleaned, the metal is cleaned up, the better the weld. So right, I'm going to put these metal pieces together. Quick little tack. Now it's on alright. I'm going to go down this little gap here. This is a good thing about the MIG welder. It'll fill in that gap really well. That's why a lot of car body shop people use MIG welders, because you can shove a lot of metal in and it can fill in gaps nicely. So there we have, we've joined one bit together. So anyway, that's my quick basics on how to MIG weld. I hope you enjoyed that. I didn't want to be too precise. It was just to kind of give you the basics to go, oh, I know, I can give that a go. Get working with some metal. If you're for more information and more details and more advice and more thing, go to artechwelding.com. They're really good for all your welding needs and other metal needs, really. So that's why I continue to use them. I'm hoping to get a TIG set work up towards that. Anyway, have a good one, guys. Bye.